Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Welcome to this Google Digital Garage webinar session all about how you can use social media stories to grow your online reach. Before we kick off with this session, if anybody's having any sort of technical challenges in viewing this live streamed webinar session, feel free to go through the usual kind of troubleshooting we all tend to go through if something doesn't work first time around. So feel free to hit the refresh button on this YouTube page if you're viewing this on a web browser. Alternatively, if you're using a mobile device, feel free to come out of the YouTube app and then click back on the link that you received for this webinar session, and hopefully everything should be working for you. Also, feel free to grab yourself a pen and a paper just so you can jot down some notes as we go along. As well as that, one thing to let you know of is that live captioning is available throughout the course of this webinar session. So if you did want to switch that option on, feel free to toggle and hit on the little CC icon, which is in a square box when you hover over this video, and that will enable it. And if you click it again, that will disable that option for you there as well. So as I mentioned at the top of this session, welcome to this webinar, which is all about the topic of using social media stories to grow your online reach. My name is Rikesh. I'm going to be your webinar presenter, taking you through the course of this session, which is going to be a very short but bite-sized session, which is going to last for approximately 15 minutes. So I'll kick off briefly with a little bit about me. So I'm a trainer for Google's digital skills program, Google Digital Garage. As well as that, I'm also a digital marketer, and a large part of kind of a digital marketer's life in terms of growing an organization's online presence is social media. And we're going to be focusing on one aspect and kind of one feature set of social media, which is stories, in the course of this session. So that's just a little bit about me. I'd also like to introduce to you at this stage my colleague and fellow Google Digital Garage trainer, and that is Annie. Now, Annie is going to be our wonderful chat moderator. So you might have already seen that Annie's dropped in a couple of messages in the live chat, which should be appearing on the right-hand side of your YouTube screen at the moment. Feel free to sign into your YouTube account, which is very quick and easy to do. And then you can type any questions, type any comments in the short time that we have together. And a combination of either Annie or myself will be able to kind of provide our thoughts and reply to some of those questions that you do have coming in. So feel free to get as interactive as possible throughout the course of this session. Now, the session that we're running today is one of many webinars that we actually run as part of a wider Google Digital Garage webinar offering. So if you have a look down below me where I'm pointing, you'll see that there is a video description box. And in the video description box, you will find that there is a link within there, which links you through to the Google Digital Garage website, which many of you would have used already to sign up for this webinar session. And by visiting the Google Digital Garage website and checking out the live training tab, you probably would have already also seen that there's other webinars that we actually run on a variety of other digital marketing related topics. Now, we also do webinars on kind of career-based topics as well. However, kind of the large majority of the topics that we have got on the website are geared towards the world of kind of digital marketing and kind of learning a little bit more about different kind of aspects and avenues in regards to that as well. Another fantastic resource you'll find on the Google Digital Garage website is the online courses section, which are available for you to complete at no charge. Helps to kind of supplement the learning that you do on these webinars as well. There's a course on there in particular called the Fundamental of Digital Marketing course, which also actually gives you a certificate at no charge from Google, recognizing that you've completed that specific course as well. So definitely check out all the resources on the Google Digital Garage website. But let's kick off by having a look at what we're going to be covering in this session on using social media stories to grow our online reach. So in this session, we're first of all going to be understanding how stories can help our business. So use this as kind of like a filter. So what's the point? Why should we use this functionality, this feature of the social media platforms first and foremost? So what's the upside to us as a business? Once we've looked at that and explored that, we're then going to round out this session by looking at how do we go about creating a social media story. And some of you might already have experience of that. So some of what we're going to be covering, you might think, yeah, I already know about this, or I'm already incorporating this in my stories. And some other piece of information, you might think, oh, I might include that next time I create a story going forward as well. So in terms of how stories can help our business, we first of all just want to either identify or refresh ourselves on what is a story. Now, stories typically appear on social media platforms, or kind of specific social media platforms. You've got the likes of kind of Facebook, Instagram are quite sort of prominent for that. Even the likes of kind of Snap or Snapchat, as it's called as well. And you've also got WhatsApp as well. So stories are short form content, whether it be in photos or whether it be in video form. Or whether it just be text-based form as well. But this short form content typically expires after 24 hours. So it has an expiry date that it tends to have. Now, with various platforms, especially with the likes of kind of Instagram, you can actually save these stories so they can be visible and viewable by individuals after they have expired at the time as well. And you've got kind of different types of stories which have different types of purposes as well. So you can see here with kind of the first story screenshot here, which is find your new best friend. So this seems to be kind of an animal based an animal kind of charity who are based in Manchester, United Kingdom. So they've got a location tag there as well. And then you've also got kind of the second screenshot. You've got the likes of a car mechanic. Need help fixing your car? They're asking a question. Ask me anything. So they're kind of opening it up to the people that are interacting with that story as well. You've also got a poll here about ice creams, and then also kind of a video to do with kind of a morning brew, a morning coffee as well. So why are stories important from a business perspective? Well, I want to show you these stats that you can see here on screen. So 500 million people use stories each and every day. And this is across kind of a multitude of social media platforms. So as I mentioned, you've got the likes of Instagram, you've also got the likes of Facebook, but then you've also got platforms like WhatsApp as well, which have those kind of those stories that you can set, which do expire after 24 hours. And you can see here that 70% of Generation Z. So Generation Z are typically individuals who are born, I believe, between 1981 and 1996, actually view social media stories on a regular basis. And you can also see that 59% of millennials watch stories as well. Millennials are typically individuals, actually, millennials are the ones that were born between 1981 and 1996, and Generation Z are the ones that are born between 1997 and 2012. But all in all, the basic kind of gist of these kind of statistics and figures is just to kind of highlight that there's visibility and there's attention. That's the main factor with social media. I would always kind of impart on anybody is the main part is grabbing attention, because that can be the hardest kind of challenge that we have as a business with social media, because it can be a wall of noise. So that's where stories come into play, because stories are short, sharp, and to the point. And that kind of lends itself to the fact that nowadays, as humans, we have short attention spans. It's actually been estimated that the average attention span when it comes to social media for us as humans is just 3 seconds. Just imagine yourself as you're kind of flicking through your news feed, whether it be kind of with your finger or with your thumb, whatever you kind of use to kind of flick through your news feed. A lot of the time, we just carry on flicking till something really jumps out as well. So that's where kind of stories do come into play. So in terms of kind of some benefits for social media stories, as well as them being kind of short, sharp, to the point, which plays into the fact that we have short attention spans these days, we can actually build trust with social media stories. So we can kind of maybe go behind the scenes of our business a little bit, kind of showcase how something's made, or a little bit more kind of content and context around the individuals that work at a certain organization and business as well. And that kind of builds a level of not only rapport, but rapport kind of is something that generally and naturally can lead to trust between you and an individual who's viewing your social media content, who could well be your potential customer or future customer as well. You can also encourage interaction. So we kind of saw a couple of examples of that a few moments ago with some of those kind of screenshot examples, like things like kind of asking questions that you can encourage people who view your stories to do. You can also run things like polls as well, and also drop in links to certain product pages, for example, that people can click onto if they're interested in your story as well. Now, the beauty of social media stories is that we can stay relevant. So that's kind of the great thing about social media stories, is that we can make sure that our stories are in line with whatever's trending in the world. And we can align whatever's trending in the world with what we have got to sell, our business offering. And if there's a correlation, if there's a trend between the two, if there's a commonality between the two, we can create some content around that as well. Remember, that expires after 24 hours, so we can create something else the next day going forward as well. The beauty of social media stories as well is that we can increase our visibility naturally. So I'm sure many of us are aware that with social media platforms, they all tend to have their own kind of algorithms in terms of what sort of content is shown to what individuals. So maybe somebody's kind of permanent posts on Facebook or Instagram are not kind of coming up in your news feed. However, typically stories do tend to appear or are kind of generally more likely to appear more often for individuals to view as well. And kind of a natural byproduct of social media stories is that it can help us to drive traffic. And what I mean by traffic is helping to drive individuals to your business website. And then that's kind of taking that person down the sales journey process going forward as well. So in terms of creating a social media story, just want to briefly kind of show you a couple of kind of social media stories and kind of deconstruct them with some examples. So we've got Drums and Flats, who are a food business. And you can see here they've got kind of they're promoting some wings here. They've got a hashtag here of hashtag Wing Wednesday. They've got a location that they've tagged of a food establishment. They've also tagged in kind of any relevant partners. They've added some music as well. I think music really kind of adds to social media stories in general as well. And there's generally kind of a plethora of songs that you can select out of the kind of the libraries on the likes of kind of Facebook and Instagram. Something that's very, very important as well with social media stories is to include something known as a call to action, which is a prompt. So you can see here, it says book now. That's something very important because sometimes when we view content, we don't really know what to do. And that's where a prompt, a push or a nudge from you comes into its own. So book now, learn more, buy here, whatever it might be. It's nice to kind of add that into a social media story as well. We've got another business example here of Soulcap, who are using their social media stories to share product information. So make sure that people are more informed about what does our product do, what's the benefits. And then you can see here, there's kind of a link as well to their online shop. So if somebody's sold, they're interested, yes, I want to buy a swim cap from you. Great. How do I go about doing that? And you can see that there's a call to action there with a link to the shop. You can also see that you can use social media stories to highlight your credibility through things like sharing reviews as well. I think that's kind of very important to kind of showcase sometimes, because a lot of us nowadays, we use reviews as kind of like a screening process before we decide to purchase anything from an individual or an organization these days as well. And the beauty of kind of social media is that we are, as businesses, we're more accessible. So people can send us a direct message, which is great. So we can look to kind of respond. And especially if it's somebody who's on the brink of maybe buying from you, you can maybe alleviate some fears or answer certain questions, which might make them think, oh, yeah, I'm going to go ahead with that purchase going forward as well. Now, some top tips for rounding out this session when it comes to creating social media stories is have a purpose. So whatever you are creating, make sure you know, why am I creating it? What's the reason? Is it to purely entertain? Am I kind of promoting a specific product? And my main aim is to get more people visiting the website to then hopefully buy that product. What is it that you are looking to kind of achieve out of social media story posts as well? Make sure you are kind of engaging as well. So that's where we're kind of talking about kind of using the interactive features like polls and allowing people to ask questions, which you can then answer within kind of story kind of replies essentially. Be authentic, very important in business in general, is showcase your personality, showcase your business and your brand values within your social media stories, and be consistent. As I mentioned at the start of this session, social media can be a wall of noise, so we don't want to get lost in that. So we want to keep a level of consistency with our social media story postings as well. So it's kind of over to you in terms of what are you going to be kind of posting about, and how you're going to be sharing stories going forward on your own businesses' social media feeds as well. So I hope that you found this session useful. If you did, what I'd really love for you to kind of check out the Google Digital Garage website. Feel free to check out some of the online courses. Remember, it's Fundamental of Digital Marketing course, which is the course that upon completion, you'll actually receive a certificate at no charge from Google, recognizing that you've completed that course. Also, feel free to sign up for more webinar sessions. Some are short form like this in 15-minute bite-sized chunks. You've also got 1 hour webinar sessions where we kind of go a little bit more in depth on other digital marketing related topics typically, but then also we talk on kind of career-based topics as well. So apart from that, I want to say thank you to Annie, who I'm sure agrees has been a wonderful chat moderator. So feel free to show your appreciation down below in the live chat. And thank you all for tuning into this Google Digital Garage webinar session. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.